Hey guys, in today's video we're going to download, install and set up Windows on our local machines. Before we get started, we are going to need to install a web development environment. This allows us to create web applications using Apache PHP and MySQL. Personally, I recommend any of the following web development environments for Windows: WAMP Server, for Apple, MAMP or MAMP Pro, and for other operating systems I'd say XAMPP. At the moment, XAMPP is the most popular. It is cross-platform and can be downloaded for Windows, Linux, and for the Mac OS. We'll be using XAMPP in this tutorial, so everybody can follow along no matter what platform we are on. Okay guys, to download XAMPP, let's open our web browser and either just search for XAMPP, or we can simply just type in apachefriends.org. The links will be in the description as always. Now, let's just choose the correct download for our operating system. In my case, it would be Windows. The download is going to take a few minutes, so I'm just going to pause the recording until the download's done. Okay, so my download's complete. I just moved the file to the desktop for the video purposes. Your download should be saved in your standard downloads folder. Just navigate to the file. We double click on it to start the installation. If you get the user account control message, just hit the yes button. You may receive another pop-up depending if you have an antivirus. Just select yes on that pop-up and just click OK on the last warning. Now what we'll do is we'll click next, select an installation location. I prefer to just leave it to the default. Click next again. Untick learn more about Bitnami. Click next, and the installation will begin. The installation might take a minute or so, so I'm just going to pause the video until it is done. Okay, so now we just click on the finish button and XAMPP should run automatically and open the XAMPP control panel. Once the control panel opens, we are just going to click the config button. On the config screen, we can set our editor. I'm going to leave mine on Notepad. We can set our default browser. I prefer Google Chrome, so I'm going to set the path to Chrome just to show you as an example. But if you prefer using Safari or Internet Explorer and it's your default browser, leave this option blank. It will just use your default browser in that case. Next, I like to tick auto start the modules for Apache and MySQL, and I also prefer the client to start minimized, so I will tick that option as well. Simply click the save and it will return to the control panel. Next, we have to start the services or modules that we are going to use. You'll see this column of start and stop buttons. Here we'll go ahead and click the start button next to Apache. It might bring up a firewall security alert. So make sure that private networks are ticked and click on allow access. Next we click on the start button next to MySQL, and again for the firewall security just tick the private networks and allow access, and that's it. We've now successfully installed and started our web development environment. You can confirm that the services or modules are running by simply right-clicking on the XAMPP icon in the taskbar. This will open a small window from where you can actually start or stop the services as well. Next, we have to download and install WordPress. We enter the URL wordpress.org. The download link to the newest version of WordPress is available on the home page. Simply click the button and you'll be redirected to the downloads page. On the downloads page, just simply click the button download WordPress and the download will begin automatically. I'm just going to pause the video for a second while it is downloading. Okay, so my download's complete and I moved it to my desktop again. Just double click on the compressed file. It'll open in your default compression application. In the file you'll see a folder named WordPress. Just open a new Explorer window, navigate to your XAMPP folder. In the XAMPP folder, look for a folder called htdocs, and we just open that folder. Now simply click and drag the WordPress folder from the compressed archive into the white space in that folder, and this will copy the WordPress folder to the HD docs folder. Now we simply rename that WordPress folder by right clicking and selecting rename. I like to rename the folder whatever my site's going to be called. In this example, let's use Insidious Coding. If you double click on that folder, you will see the WordPress file structure. Next, we need to create an empty database for WordPress to use. Let's return to the XAMPP control panel. We'll click on the admin button located next to the MySQL, and it will open PHPMyAdmin. PHPMyAdmin is a user interface to make database editing and creating much simpler for the average user. So in PHPMyAdmin, we'll click on the New button in the left-hand side menu. This takes us to a databases screen. In the text field under the Create Database, we'll type in our desired name. I like to keep the name the same as my site. That just makes it easier when working with multiple sites. So let's type in our site name. Click on the Create button, and we can see in the list that our database was created. We're now ready to install WordPress. Okay, in our browser address bar, we enter the URL http://localhost/ and whatever your folder name is. In my case, Insidious Coding / and we hit the enter. This will bring us to the WordPress installation. All you do is select your preferred language, click on continue. It now explains what information is needed to continue. Let's just click on the Let's Go button. In the database name field, let's enter our database name we created. Again, in my case, it's Insidious Coding. In the username field, you need to enter the word root. That's R-O-O-T. The password field needs to be cleared and left blank, and the table prefix should remain as is. Just click the Submit button. If WordPress was able to communicate with the database, we are asked if we would like to proceed. Just click on Run the Install, and there you go. We've got WordPress installed. Okay guys, now we need to set a few things up. The first thing we need to set up is the site title. Obviously, we just use our normal title. This is the title that's going to be displayed here in the top of the browser window. As for the username, you can use any username. I just prefer using admin, because when you create more than one site, it just becomes easier to track one username. Same with password. I use a generic password until I move it to a live server. Then I'll use a more secure password. You just confirm your password, fill out your email address. I'm just going to use test.test.test. Just click on login, fill out your login information, and there you go. Welcome to the WordPress dashboard.